into the cold dark sea. Forever tried to find some sort of guidance, but all I need, so ready here.
The more I give of myself, the less there is anything of life or even the notion of self, of I, to covet or cling to. When I find my mind wanting to fear loss of anything, and most especially underneath it all the loss of its life, I like to get so full of the joy of giving that I forget there's a me to protect. I've got family members that really like to look down on each other. If you're listening, you know it's true. And I've got community members who like to do the same. And if y'all are listening, you know it's true. And it's something I want to speak to because it really is the fundamental plague. And it's funny how the mind, when it does that, it can at times kid itself that it can do it in secret. It doesn't really matter, like it's not that consequential if I have this thought that that person's an absolute loser. What does it matter? It's just my mind. It's funny how the mind will have that blind spot. Like, it is just the mind. And that's something that I teach to help people to depersonalize that it's just a thought. And at the same time, thought has electromagnetic signature, and that signature is amplified as a signal in the field. You can feel, if you're sensitive, and we all are, it's just, are you sensitized to your sensitivity? You can feel when you are in a room where you are supported and cared about and seen, and when you're not, and you're being looked down upon. You can feel it. And it's not just you notice because of visual cues. You notice if you were blindfolded. You know, because it's in the field. It's electromagnetic. And I'm saying, when we empower that way of viewing one another, when we have a thought like that and then say to that thought, ooh, yeah, true. When we embolden a thought like that, we really start to fix it into 3D world. And when collectively we have a thought like that, that starts to lead to what can become ultimately genocidal behavior. Because after all, if resources appear finite and those people over there are less than us, we rally against them and we stomp them out. It's fine to do that because we're the chosen ones. We are above others. I see that playing out in the world. It is essentially what war is. And all the rhetoric on every side, ultimately, when it is aggressive and not simply defensive, when it is aggressive, the rhetoric always has to do with superiority. And I find myself more zealous than ever to be a voice for the alternative option, which is to slip out the side of all of that and to recognize that there is absolutely no one on this planet that is above me and no one that is below me. That includes all life forms, essentially. And it doesn't mean that there isn't room for what it takes to survive, what it takes to be well amid species. When that is done in a sacred manner, diversity proliferates, balance proliferates. When it's done in a sterile, polarized, top-down manner, so much imbalance unfolds and emerges, and it's incredibly deteriorating on so many levels. My concern is that this war may escalate because there is deep pride on both sides, deep pride, and a deep sense of being God's people. And I can think of no more fiery or vehement a mission than the righteous cause of those who feel that God is behind them and not the, in quotes, other. And I ask those of you who hear these words and resonate with them to deepen into your practice of knowing love, being love. What does it mean to be it? I remember when I first started my training in the reworking of my mind so that it became a servant to the heart in me. When I began that training long, long ago, I was offered what were called 12 pathways. 12 long-winded sentences that each described different facets of what it means to live a loving life. And I remember reading them over the first time and going, yeah, this just makes so much sense. This is my heart. And I remember turning to my teacher who had introduced these pathways to me and saying, oh, I so get these. I get them. And I felt a certain pride in that. I get them. A lot of people maybe don't. And she turned to me very lovingly, and she looked at me with a gaze that appeared to, it was like she was looking right through me with so much love, patience, compassion. And she said, you do know them. You do get what they're saying. Now I'm going to help you be them. And being them was a whole other ride. That was a whole other ride because I had so many robot-like emotional patternings inside me that defaulted to the fear I'd learned all my life before meeting her. And what it meant to rewire, unwire my nervous system, unlearn what had become so knee-jerk. That took literally everything inside of me. It took my entire focus for the last 25 years. It is that level of commitment that we all can take on. It can be initiated by us, no matter what our socioeconomic situation, our particular life path or calling. It doesn't matter what we're up to. We're parenting, we're CEO of some company, we're just starting out in the bottom of some massive corporate behemoth. It doesn't matter. We can be slaves here or elsewhere. No matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can choose to decide to be love and explore what that actually feels like, looks like, is. What I will say is it will never look one way. Every moment necessitates a different impulse from love. The only rule there is to love. To love, that love works and fear doesn't. That's the only real truth there is. So says me, as I've gazed deeply into myself and into the world. And fear has just never worked. It appears to at times, it totally does. It appears to, it can on the level of 3D temporarily. It can secure a certain something. And we see it just because of that, just absolutely ubiquitous everywhere. It's everywhere as the mode of operation. And so many minds have become convinced that that is the way to go, including my own. I was absolutely convinced when push came to shove that fear was the way to go. And we call it our instinct. Although I would say it's the wiring. It's only that it has been instilled so deeply into our systems. So that is why it takes such fervor to address it. And I am here to stand and testify that it is worth all that it takes. It is so worth it. It is a bliss, a magic to live in the now, fearlessly, guided by this spirit of love that is what we all are at our core, what unites us all, what makes us all equals and all one. And what love asks of us will always be what takes care of the whole best. And in that way, we can trust it. I want to be able to trust you. When things get hard or war is increased, systems in our country, if they start to go haywire at any point, which could happen, I want to be able to reach across and find you and trust your heart and trust that your mind has started to be entrained to your heart. We're going to need each other in these times. Please, be my sister, be my brother, and let's not look down on each other. Let's help each other not only survive, we can thrive together. When I was a child, I grew up around many, many Jewish families. My besties were Jewish. I went to more bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs than I can count. I have Jewish cousins, multiple of them. I have loved these people deeply, and I always will. I loved challah bread. I used to sit on Friday nights around the table with them and listen to their beautiful songs and enjoy their incredible foods. They were heart family for me. As an adult, I fell in love with a Persian and came to adopt in a very deep way for me, in a self-sacrificial way, in that way that mothers get when they are truly in love with their own children. That mama bear, I'd do anything for you type of feeling and approach to another. I absolutely became devoted to this child, and she was full-blood Persian, Iranian. I came to know that culture quite a bit during that time, and I came to love it so much. As a kid, age 12, I remember finding a book of poems, Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. I loved it so much. I opened it, and even at that young age, it just spoke to me. It spoke to my spirit. It rang with truth that I knew in my bones. When I was in massage school, I was introduced to Hafez. Rumi and Hafez. I used to call them my Persian brothers from another time. They spoke to my being, and I knew them as my own. Whenever I needed to be reminded, whenever I felt I had slipped from my own sense of our mutual and universal divinity, I would pick up their voices to help me remember. These are all ancient families, cultures, histories. What is it to say that all are legitimate? How can we do anything but do that if we claim to love? Peace is about recognizing that we are all one, that our differences are beautiful and can be supported to endure the different flavors of culture, even of belief system. But to say that we are one better than another, this is the hell that is created on earth. This is the disease, the spiritual disease of our time. I want the daughter of my heart to have a safe place to live. And I want the daughters and sons of my Jewish families to have safe places to live and to thrive, all of them thriving. This is the prayer in my heart. I wait patiently. I wait patiently for as long as it takes for the world, through you, to recognize itself, for the love to awaken inside each of your hearts, so that you can finally see yourself in others, so you can finally see me in you. So that we can stand on our knees like my dear soul, heart, sister, angel, teacher, gave me the vision of on our knees all together at equal height, in equal portion of surrender, all holding hands in a circle of sacred togetherness. With our minds bowed to the heart, to the one heart that is the essence of who we all are. And that so organically and fundamentally unites us all.
Me and my cousin were walking one day by the Dairy Queen, drive through down by the highway, and he found some flowers, a busted bouquet, and he put a hydrangea in his hair. Some kids at the Dairy Queen were calling him gay, and then to my surprise I knew just what to say. I said, boys, if you're looking for your worthiness, well, it's already there. Gloria, no more nightmares of Kuala. No need to win the race to face your father. Me and my cousin were at the arcade in a fathom of blood. We were constantly slain, and we watched the progress of our three-letter names till we stumbled outside to the night air. And there was a man with a coat and a cane. He was mumbling things about the world gone insane. He said, boys, if you're looking for your innocence, well, it's already